The Magwad family is a gentle, hardworking, and religious family in Malina, Philippines. Cruz and Lavella are teachers, and they have two intelligent, well-behaved children. Daughter Gwyn, 18, and son Luis, 16. Gwyn and Louis had a beautiful childhood, growing up in the love of their parent. In 2021, Gwyn is studying medicine, while his younger brother Luis wants to become a lawyer in the future. Although the Magwad family is not rich, they live comfortably and happily. Their small house is always filled with laughter. In July 2021, the Magwad family welcomed a new member, a 17-year-old adopted daughter named Janice. Janice is an orphan and had a difficult childhood. No one knows much about Janice's background, but one thing they do know is that Janice's family is very poor. On September 22, 2013, a woman found an 8-year-old girl wandering around The girl was Janice. She said she had no parents and had no memory of her life. The woman who found Janice was shocked and immediately posted her picture online. It is unclear whether the girl was lost or abandoned, because although the woman posted the news on countless forums, sadly no one came to claim her. Eventually, Janice was placed in an orphanage. Time passed quickly. Janice grew up and started working as a housemaid from house to house to make a living. In 2020, a couple with 2 young children hired Janice as a nanny. The couple were relatives of the Magwad family. At a family party, Janice met Gwyn for the first time. The 2 girls immediately became close friends. Janice, Gwyn, and Louis often posted videos of them dancing together on TikTok. The 2 girls talked to each other for hours without getting bored. Then, curious, Gwyn and Louis asked Janice why she didn't go to school, but instead worked for hire. Janice sadly said that she was an orphan. Tears began to roll down Janice's cheek. Since she was a child, she had no family and had to work hard day and night to make a living. She had to do laundry, cook, clean, and didn't go to school. Janice's future was very tiring and she didn't know where her life would go. Gwyn hugged Janice tightly. She felt so sorry for her friend and an idea came to Gwyn's mind. After discussing with Louis, the 2 Gwyn sisters convinced their parents and begged them to adopt Janice. First, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad were reluctant, as they didn't have a spare bedroom, and their meager teacher's salary was barely enough to support the whole family. But Gwyn and Louis kept begging them every day. Gwyn said she would get a part-time job and help her parents, and Louis said he was willing to sleep on the sofa in the living room to give Janice his bedroom. Finally, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad relented. They thought that maybe this was God's will. Just add more dishes and everything would be fine. In July 2021, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad officially adopted Janice. They enrolled her in the school where they taught, and Janice also changed her name to Janice Magwad. Then, the peaceful life of the Magwad family was suddenly disrupted. One day, about $200 in an old money box in Mr. and Mrs. Magwad's bedroom suddenly disappeared. At first, Janice said that the thief must have reached through the window to get the money, but everyone in the house thought it was strange. They had never had anything strange stolen before. Why did the thief only take the money in the box? Why was there no sign of a break-in or disturbance in the house? Everyone thought it was strange, but no one suspected anything until Gwyn discovered a secret compartment in Janice's backpack that had been sewn shut, containing the exact amount of money that had been stolen. Janice quickly confessed her guilt and said that she did not know why she did it. Maybe she had been traumatized since she was a child and had always feared being deprived, so she stole the money like that. Janice cried and sincerely apologized. Although upset, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad understood and sympathized with Janice. Gwyn and Louise not only defended Janice in front of their parents, but also encouraged Janice that they would do their best to help her heal. The family of 5 went out together and went to church on the weekend. They treated Janice like their own family and always paid a little extra attention to her so that she wouldn't feel lost or abandoned. Janice's life seemed to have turned a new page. She finally knew what it felt like to wake up without the fear of losing her job or being on the street. The Magwad family had given her an education, home, family, and a future. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough. On December 10th, 2021, Cruz and Lavella made breakfast for their children and left for work. Cruz was a teacher and Lavella was the principal of the school. That morning, Janice called them Mom and Dad for the first time. It was a milestone for both foster parents and foster child. They were overjoyed to have another child. They walked out of the house, not knowing that what started out as a wonderful day would end up being the worst, darkest day of their lives. At 3 p.m. that afternoon, Janice's Facebook account posted a series of disturbing statuses. She knew that someone was breaking into the house, and she was hiding under Louis' bed, which was now hers. Janice begged someone to call the police. A co-worker of Cruz's saw the statuses and quickly called him. Cruz was repairing a classroom at the school when he received the bad news. He drove home, his heart racing, but he could never have imagined the horror that awaited him. Cruz arrived home around 3:15. He walked through the gate. The house was eerily quiet. As he approached the front door, he saw a bloody blanket and a bloody knife lying in front of the door. His stomach clenched. Cruz called out each of his children's names. No one answered. He turned the doorknob to open it, but it was locked. He walked to the back of the house, still calling out his children's names.
Gitulak ko ang main door nakalock. Singgit pa ko, boy, Ate Gwen. Boy, Ate Gwen. Janice, wala.
The house was still eerily quiet. Cruz walked to the back of the house and entered through the kitchen door. When he got to the living room, he saw the bodies of his children lying in a pool of blood on the floor. There were broken glass, a hammer, and a baseball bat around them. The house reeked of blood. Gwyn was covered in bruises and stab wounds all over his body. The girl was stiff, and ants had begun to swarm around her body. Louis was tied up and gagged near the front door. His body was also covered in blood. Mr. Magwad went crazy, screaming and crying, hugging the bodies of his children. At that moment, Janice appeared, body soaked, but not from blood, from water. Mr. Cruz Magwad rushed over and asked Janice if she was hurt anywhere. He soon realized that Janice did not have a single scratch. Janice said she was taking a shower and did not hear him calling. Janice also said that 3 men had broken into the house and attacked her sibling. She quickly ran into the bedroom, locked the door, and hid under the bed. Janice explained that she had taken a shower after the attackers had left to calm down. Immediately after, Cruz called Lavella to tell her that their children were gone. Lavella screamed in pain, her legs gave out, and she felt as if her heart had been ripped out. She blamed herself for not being home to protect her children. If she had been home, her children might still be alive. An autopsy found that Gwyn had suffered 21 stab wounds, while Louis had suffered 51. They had been strangled and beaten with a hammer and a baseball bat. Whoever the killer was, it appeared that they were taking out their anger and hatred on the 2 children. Nothing was missing from the house except for Gwyn's cell phone. This further suggests that the murder was motivated by personal reasons, not robbery. Gwyn and Lewis were buried on December 20th, 2021, with more than 1,000 people attending to pay their respect. Meanwhile, the police continue to investigate the case. All the weapons used in the murders were household items. The hammer belonged to Cruz and was kept in a place known only to Janice and Gwyn. Louis's baseball bat was kept in Louis's old room, which was now Janice's bedroom. That meant the killer had gone into Janice's room to get the baseball bat. The more the Magwads thought about it, the more they felt that Janice's story was not plausible. Why would the killers let Janice survive without a scratch, while brutally attacking and murdering Gwyn and Lewis? It was 3:15 when Cruz got home, just 15 minutes after Janice posted her distress message. But Gwyn and Lewis' bodies were stiff and ants were already swarming around them. The autopsy showed that Gwyn and Louis had been killed around 2 p.m. So why did Janice wait so long to seek help? Why did she have a phone in her hand but not immediately call the police, instead of posting a distress call on Facebook? Why did she take a shower after witnessing such a horrific crime? Somehow, Janice also had time to change her Facebook name from Janice Magwad to JP just before posting the distress call. Janice claimed that she locked the door and hid under the bed, but the room was a mess and there was blood all over it. The room was locked in the first place. How did the attackers get in to get the baseball bat? There were clearly too many holes in her story. Investigators searched the entire house and found an identification card for a 17-year-old boy named Canido in Janice's bedroom. Magwads didn't know who he was, but a witness said Canido was a boy who worked at a nearby church. Police also found a plastic bag in a nearby creek, apparently thrown away by the killers, but caught on a tree branch. Inside were Janice's bloody clothes. However, the most shocking evidence was found on the baseball bat used to kill Louis and Gwyn. Janice's fingerprints were on it. After hours of questioning, Janice broke down and confessed. She admitted to being the mastermind behind the murders of Gwyn and Lewis, who had begged their parents to adopt her. Janice didn't do it alone, but with the help of Canido, a 17-year-old boy who worked at the church and had feelings for Janice. Janice manipulated Canido into helping her carry out her evil plan. Facebook messages between Janice and Canido showed that they had been planning the murder 10 days. Janice expressed her intense hatred for Gwyn and asked Canido to help her kill Gwyn and her sisters. Janice killed Gwyn out of jealousy and felt that the Magwads loved Gwyn more. However, Janice did not explain why she killed Lewis, although many believed that Janice wanted to eliminate all of the Magwads' children so that she could be the only one loved. At around 2 p.m. on December 10th, Janice unlocked the door to allow Canido to sneak in. After being attacked, Gwyn ran out of the house but returned to save her brother and Janice, unaware that the real enemy was Janice. After killing Gwyn and Lewis, Janice and Canido showered, changed their clothes, and threw their bloody clothes into a plastic bag and into the creek. Janice then posted a fake distress message on Facebook. It took just 6 days for authorities to close the case when they arrested Canido and found Gwyn's cell phone. Janice was also arrested and both were sent to a juvenile detention facility. Janice reportedly enjoyed watching The Orphan, horror film about a foster family who adopts a child who turns out to be a serial killer. Many believe that Janice may have gotten the idea from the film. In a final twist to the case, it turned out that Janice was not an orphan. During her time with the Magwads, Janice kept in touch with her biological parent. Janice was Mercedes's daughter and had 3 other siblings. Lavella initially wanted to forgive Janice because she was religious. She felt that Janice was a victim of poverty and lack of education, and that she had been terribly traumatized since childhood. However, she changed her mind when she saw Janice in court, her eyes cold and empty, without remorse, and never once apologizing for her action. It was insane and horrible that a 16-year-old girl, taken in by a gentle family, commit such a brutal murder. They treated her like their own, gave her everything. But in return, she took everything from them. In May 2022, Janice was sentenced to 31 years in prison. Alcanito was sentenced to 29 years. The Magwads expressed their gratitude for the support of the community and public opinion after their darkest day. In August 2022, they opened a restaurant in memory of Gwen and Louis. The restaurant menu includes the two children's favorite dishes. Despite all the pain they have been through, Mr. Perfumebird and Mrs. Magwad have found the strength and love to show kindness to everyone they meet. They find comfort in the knowledge that they raised two wonderful, kind, and loving children, even though their lives were cut tragically short. May the souls of Gwen and Louis rest in peace, and may Mr. and Mrs. Magwad's broken and grieving hearts heal. What do you think of today's case? Please share your thoughts with. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video if you find it interesting. Thank you for your support.